Welcome to One Brooklyn, presented by Brooklyn Borough President Eric L. Adams. On this edition of One Brooklyn, Brooklyn Borough President Adams joins with Brooklyn bishops to discuss the disturbing outbreak of violence at churches across the United States. At the meeting, the borough president spoke with the bishops about possible steps they could take to keep parishioners safe. They discussed it at a press conference after the meeting.
Good afternoon. I am Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams, and we are here at our annual Bishop Roundtable, where we bring together some of the leading bishops in the borough of Brooklyn to talk about issues of importance that impacts not only the borough of Brooklyn, but the city on the whole. And we could not leave this meeting and this gathering without dealing with the recent shooting that took place in a church in Texas and some of the shootings that have taken place throughout the years. We have the Charleston church shooting, the Islamic Cultural Center of Quebec Mosque, the Sunday shooting, which was the most recent case. 26 people lost their lives to this senseless violence. 20 more were injured, some of them seriously injured. The shooting impacted children as well as elders. The bullets may have stopped when it hit the bodies of the individuals, but the emotional trauma is continuing the pathway of destruction throughout our entire nation. This senseless violence, the only way we can meet it head on is to ensure that not only our law enforcement agencies are receiving the support and resources they need, but also everyday parishioners, everyday houses of worship and faith-based institutions receiving the necessary support that they need as well. One of the most important programs we have here in New York City is the SHIELDS program. We had 2 detectives here today that shared some of the basic input of the SHIELDS program. We're looking to continue to expand that program and ensure that they receive the support on the city council level, and we will be speaking to all of the city council potential incoming speakers to ask them to be part of ensuring that the SHIELD program receives the necessary resources that they can receive to continue doing this great proactive training of teaching people what to do when there is an active shooter. If we don't start the process of educating everyday people, everyday churchgoers, everyday mosque attendees, everyday synagogue attendees on what to look for and how to respond when there's an active shooter, it would only lead to the danger of casualties continue to increase. And we're also calling on the federal government. It is imperative that the funding that is needed on a local level, that the federal government continues to help with terrorist funding to ensure that police officers and police agencies receive the resources that they need to continue to protect the public. What happened in Texas was terrorism, and we cannot call it anything other than that. It was a terrorist act, and the dollars that is needed would make good sense to save lives from not only those who are in houses of worship, but those who are carrying out their duties every day. We explore and we hope that this is an opportunity to continue to give the support that is needed. And I cannot thank the bishops that are here for coming and sharing their voice on such an important initiative on how do we continue to make sure our local law enforcement agencies receive the resources and funding they need to continue to protect the public. We're going to hear from 2 bishops, Bishop Hugh Nelson and Bishop Robert Rockford. First, we will hear from Bishop Hugh Nelson.
Hello, my name is Bishop R.C. Hugh Nelson, Senior Pastor of the Church of God of East Flatbush. Surely grateful for this opportunity to stand with Brooklyn Borough President Eric L. Adams and fellow clergy to speak to a very important issue. These are difficult days. There was a time when houses of worship was considered sacred ground. There was an assumption that it was a safe space in our community. We have now come to a point where even sacred space is vulnerable to active shooting. And so we stand with our Borough President to make a press that on a federal level, that these are not the days to reduce funding for counterterrorism programs, but actually to increase it. And we are grateful for the NYPD SHIELD program, which helps to educate local clergy. But we want to stand with our Borough President and all our elected officials and to take a stand that strengthening and increasing the security of our houses of worship should be a priority. And we want to go on record to support these programs, not to reduce funding.
Thank you. Bishop
My
Robert
pleasure.
Rockford.
Yes. My name is Bishop Robert Rochford. I am the pastor of the New Life Cathedral in Brooklyn, and I'm thankful for this opportunity to speak with the Borough President about a very pressing issue that seems to be occurring more and more in our nation. We've always had violence, but the violence now is spilling over to our schools and to our houses of worship. This is unprecedented in our nation. Something has to be done. And we must make sure that our cities are safe. In Texas, I think the youngest was 18 months old. Even our children now are being slaughtered. What can we do about this? It is imperative at this point that the federal government help us with resources to fund programs like SHIELD, training for congregations, more police presence in our communities, and everything else that can be done to make sure that all of our citizens are safe, our houses of worship are secure, training can be done even for congregations. The hour is so critical now that we cannot avoid somehow trying to address this issue. And I think one of the major things that can be done is the continual resources from the federal government so that we have everything we need to make sure that our cities are safe. Thank you.
Well said, well said, well said. And I want to thank both the bishops and all of the bishops who are here. I think anytime our safe space turns into a deadly place, it sends a signal that we must bring about a cease to this level of violence, this sick competition of who can break the next record of how many people are lost in our houses of worship is something that is unacceptable and intolerable in this country. We must remain a united state by ensuring that everyone is safe, and that is what our call is here for today. And the bishops' comments today really is something that's resonating throughout the entire country. All of our houses of worship are now asking, is there any place in America where we are free from senseless violence? And we must make that answer to be a yes, and proactive training and proactive input is a way of doing so. Thank you. We will open up to any questions at this time. Okay, great. Okay, thank you, Bishop.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.
It is not unknown that a person can be able to carry that is not law enforcement. We have a permit process. It's called a carry permit. And I say let's fast track that carry permit for those in houses of worship.
Are there some houses of worship who do have guards with guns?
Some houses of worship have active or retired law enforcement officers who are part of their parishioners, and they do carry their firearms while they're in the church services. So part of our instructions today was to tell them to find out who they are, put them strategically in their churches so that they can be there to watch what happens.
And you'd also like to fast track that process of having people get permits to do something, right?
Yes, I would like to the normal permit process for individuals who want a carry permit. That is the elite permit in New York City. Is a rather lengthy one and is limited. I would like to see that process fast tracked for those houses of worship that pass a a qualified background check, and they're able to go through the proper training to know how to utilize that gun. These are calling for desperate times, desperate measures to save lives.